Farming has always been largely associated with the countryside and towns outside of urban life because there's more space and cleaner air to grow enough crops to feed the population. However, due to recent studies and changes in opinions, there is actually a possibility that the future of farming could lie in cities, which would be a real change from traditional farming and everything we thought we knew. In today's video, we'll be talking about why the future of farming could be in cities and what the pros and cons of this might be. If you're interested to know where the future of farming lies, keep watching. Before we begin this video, if you enjoy content like this, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel, and make sure to turn on post notifications so you can be the first to hear about my next video. Alright, let's get into it. Number 1. Why would the future of farming lie in cities? Many advocates have said that vertical farming is actually the future of farming and would take place in cities. But what is vertical farming? Vertical farming is very simple. It means that instead of farming in the countryside and bringing food into cities by trucks, your farm is as close as possible, hopefully eliminating a lot of environmental issues as well. By accomplishing vertical farming, food will be growing on top of high-rise buildings all over cities to ensure that it's close to its customers and has a place to grow where not many people go. As people don't usually go to the rooftops of buildings, so it ensures that it will be a peaceful place for crops to grow. Vertical farming has many forms, and it has been seen popping up in many cities, and is only set to grow. There is a 12-story triangular building going up in Sweden where plants will travel on tracks from the top floor to the bottom floor to take advantage of sunlight and also make harvesting easier. This is expected to pop up in other countries around the world as well. There is also a meat packing plant in Chicago where vegetables are being grown on floating rafts, and they get their nourishment from waste by nearby fish tanks, making it much more sustainable process. Many farms across the US have now started to hang their crops in the air and spray their roots with nutrients so they don't have to buy soil or water tanks for the plants, making it a lot easier to run a farm nowadays. Number 2. What are the advantages of vertical farming? Vertical farming has started to spread in countries and has already seen many benefits and advantages. The main benefit of vertical farming is that it spreads upwards, atop of skyscrapers and buildings, and doesn't sprawl and take up a lot of land. This makes it a lot easier to save space and make sure that buildings can also have more than one function. Now crops can grow them too. This is perfect for big cities where there are a lot of buildings and a lot of people to feed, so it ensures that enough food can be grown for the population. It also helps city dwellers health-wise. With produce being grown closer to them, they now have access to fresh produce instead of waiting for it to be imported. It can also lower the price of produce as it has been grown close to home, making it more affordable for many who live in big cities. Vertical farming can also mean that there will be a rise in jobs in big cities, as more people will need to be hired to take care of the produce as it grows, as well as harvest and plant it. Even though these farms might be smaller than bigger, traditional ones, they will still need people to help out, and as there will be more farms around the city, more employees will be needed, which can also help boost the economy. A huge reason that vertical farming is being talked about today is because it can really help to reduce the environmental issues that are happening right now, especially in big cities. Big cities are crowded and have a lot of cars and trucks going through them, especially to transport and carry produce into them. However, vertical farming takes off. This means that less trucks will be coming into cities, and therefore will mean less pollution overall, hopefully improving air quality in cities and ensuring that people in the cities are healthier. There are obviously a lot of pros to vertical farming, but there are also some things we should consider before completely switching. Number 3. What are the cons of vertical farming? As with everything, there are going to be some cons. One issue that many people have is that what will happen to the countryside if vertical farming takes over? This is definitely a valid question because farming predominantly takes place in the countryside, and it could possibly hit smaller farms very hard. Many smaller farms have already been hit hard by the global health situation, but also because larger farms have taken over. Many people are more interested in quantity as opposed to quality, and that means that bigger farms are selling more products grown with pesticides and chemicals just to get the product out of there. If vertical farming really takes off, there will likely be less demand for countryside farms, and smaller farms could take a bigger hit than they've already taken. This could also mean that more people could relocate to big cities and cause an adverse effect, and cities could face even bigger environmental problems in the future. Many are also worried that the land in the countryside would be converted into big buildings and factories, once again making bigger environmental problems problems for the world. Another issue is that we still need farms, no matter how big vertical farming might get, because animals are still in high demand and cannot be raised in cities in large numbers. For example, cows, sheep, and pigs still need to be raised on large areas of land and still need grass to thrive, so countryside farming will need to continue. Many crops such as corn also need large fields out in the open, and it is unlikely that big cities will actually take over farming as a whole. Even though there are some cons to consider when it comes to vertical farming, the pros definitely outweigh the cons, and it would be very beneficial to have small farms in the city run by individuals, as opposed to bigger farms in the countryside that might not be delivering the best quality product possible. Number 4. Could vertical farming be good for the countryside? The short answer is yes. Vertical farming can actually benefit the countryside in many ways. The first way is that the land in the countryside could recover from years of overuse in chemicals. As the population started to grow, farmers were looking for ways to grow produce as quickly and cheaply as possible, which often resulted in that use of pesticides and chemicals to ensure faster growth, but not necessarily the healthiest or the best produce. The soil, after years of chemicals and being overused, needs some time to heal without crops or pesticides, and if the weight was taken off of farms in the countryside, then this means that farms actually have a chance to heal their soil and make sure it's the best quality possible. This could also mean that fair food prices will be implemented more if vertical farming took place. Now every farm has the opportunity to make something of high quality with regards to the ecosystem and saving the planet by reducing food waste. This could make a much fairer system to all farms and also not force them to overproduce, but rather produce the right crops in the right seasons. Because a lot of the world is now moving in more plant-based diet, there will be less demand for dairy and meat products, as well as eggs and cheese. Of course, most people on the planet are not vegetarian and vegan, but there is more of a movement to eating more plant-based foods a few times a week, meaning that the demand for meat has declined a little bit. This now means that farms can produce less meat and focus on producing quality instead of quantity. Many have predicted that vertical farming will benefit the countryside by not overworking it, and also bringing back traditional farming a little more, as farmers no longer have to use heavy machinery and pesticides to make sure their crops grow quicker. Of course, this will take many years as vertical farming is still in its early stages at the moment, but the good news is that it also looks to solve many problems in the environment and with farming in the way it is now, meaning that we have hope for a more fair farming system and more high quality produce at an affordable price for everyone in the future. And finally, number 5, let's look at a few more examples of vertical farming. Singapore has already developed a modern technology called Sky Greens, which is essentially a multi-story, vertical rotating garden. By using Sky Greens, plants can get all the sunlight they need because the shelves rotate, and they will also take up less space because they're vertical. Singapore also has the world's largest vertical garden in District 23 called Treehouse. It essentially looks like any tall building in the city, but the outside is full of beautiful green plants, really showing that the country supports vertical farming and is becoming a pioneer in the practice. Vertical gardens and urban farming are also becoming especially popular in big cities like LA, where many people are more conscious of their impacts on the environment. These vertical gardens have debuted in art and garden shows, and many small businesses are starting to have their own smaller vertical farms, growing things like herbs for customers and for their food. These are small steps, but they can ultimately lead to a bigger, better change for the environment, and a change in farming as we know it today. What do you think of vertical farming? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section. That concludes today's video of why the future of farming lies in cities. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel, and make sure to turn on post notifications so you can be the first to hear about my next video. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.